Welcome to CIS 132. This is Unit 1, Graphic Illustration or Adobe Illustrator. I'm excited. There's a good group with me today. It looks like six students. Yay. I think I had up to 9 in my last one. These are records. Love it. So you already saw my intro video. Hopefully you were able to read through the syllabus, and I see most people are already engaging in the Breaking the Ice forum, getting to know each other, which is nice. I like to see that we're building that community. The first forum is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're kind of looking at various vector graphics and kind of assessing them. And as you know, vector graphics very different than a pixel graphic. Pixel graphics are based on points or I'm sorry, dots or points. So we have, they are all a culmination of dots and points that make up the image itself, whereas a vector is based more on coordinates and shapes, flat shapes. And so when you work with flat shapes and coordinates, you can, all of your graphics are scalable. And so that means that they don't lose quality. It doesn't matter how large you make them, they don't lose quality. So with graphic illustrator or illustration, we can create logo identities, many different posters and things of that nature that you can scale as large as you want, and you can still print them. Digitally, it doesn't matter if you have down to 72 DPI for a pixel-based image, because that's all you need to go digital, and you'll still have quality. Now, when you're working with a vector graphic, the same thing holds true for that. It does not have to, it doesn't matter. So resolution kind of goes out the window when you're speaking of that, but with vector graphics, we don't have to deal with resolution, period, because it's just not an issue. Everything will print high res. So I did provide some Illustrator shortcuts. I told you mostly about those essentials with my earlier video and the landing area of the site. You can text me anytime to this 801 number. If you're struggling, I'll get it to another email, my personal email, and then I usually check that. It's on my phone. This is the Zoom link, as I mentioned in my intro video. You're all here, so you know how to find me, which is good. Each week we'll meet here at 4 p.m. It's just a short meeting. It's going to end up being around a half hour. If no one shows up at 4:30, we are lucky in the sense that I think the next one's the last one. So we can actually keep going if you guys need a longer demo in this class, because my 4:30 people are my internship people, and most likely they won't be meeting with me unless they have to. I think this week they will, but after this week they won't. I won't really need them in the Zoom session at all. They'll be working. So other than the forum for Unit 1 for this week, we are going to basically focus on the workspace in Adobe Illustrator. And Illustrator is very similar to some of the other Adobe programs, but it's a little bit more sensitive. I struggled a lot to understand Illustrator. I could not get into a good rhythm and workflow in Illustrator for a while. So if you feel that that's the case, you're not alone. Once I got into a good workflow with Illustrator, I fell in love with it, and it's my favorite Adobe program now. The pen tool can be kind of challenging, using the shapes, merging the shapes, creating compound shapes, using the Pathfinder, using layers. There's so much to what Adobe Illustrator can give us, and that is just, the sky's the limit. So we do a lot of interesting things in here. For me, as mostly a print designer and digital designer, I do logo identities, and I do a lot of different collateral material designs in this program. I would never dive into Photoshop for a poster. It's not that you can't. It's not my desired program, and I don't think it's the best choice for a poster program. Certainly, I would use Photoshop to enhance or retouch any of my images, my pixel-based images, to then place into Illustrator. But I wouldn't choose Photoshop as a first place to go to create a poster. So if you're going to do some kind of poster, you'll place a pixel-based image into Illustrator, but then you can't really manipulate that image in Illustrator. You can only live trace it or scale it proportionately, make it large or small. So this is just a little side note on what Illustrator can do. Illustrator isn't set up to retouch or manage any kind of photography that's pixel based. It's all vector based. So you first have to take a pixel based graphic and live trace it and make it a vector before you can do anything different with it. So that's just a quick overview of what Illustrator can do for you. You can use it for many different things, but I'm constantly in Illustrator for logo identities. It's what I build. It's my platform of choice, and I hope you fall in love with it for many other projects because it has a lot of capability, especially if you're an artist. I know some of you are in studio art. If you're going to be doing studio art projects, you might consider doing some of your illustrations right in Illustrator. They have Illustrator for the iPad now. This is brand new in the last year, and it's really cool. It was just came out of beta recently, and so if you guys, if you have an iPad and you wanna test it, let me know how it goes. I have not tried it yet. I'm dying to get to it because I would like to have a portion of this course dedicated to creating um, illustrations on the iPad in Illustrator. So I'm thinking about that, trying to make that happen soon. And if you can dabble in it, if you have the opportunity, that would be really cool. So for Unit 1, intro in the workspace is really what I want you to focus on. I have a couple videos to help do that, but I might launch it right now and just do a quick little overview. Yeah, go ahead and share my screen. So here are some Adobe help tutorials. This is just getting started in Illustrator. Hopefully this one's not a bad link because I'm running into a lot of bad links lately. Okay, so see, you can get Illustrator on the iPad or get Illustrator on the desktop. Getting to know Illustrator. So if you go into this and you go to Learn and Support Tutorials, you would be a beginner, of course, if you're not super familiar with Illustrator yet. And then you would go to Getting to Know Illustrator. And what I might do here is share, I might actually change change that link to this because this has a ton of great videos for you through Adobe HelpX that just gets you comfortable in Illustrator. But I'm gonna assist in that in a moment because I'm gonna launch and show you some of the workspace. For the resources, that's usually supplemental to what you're learning, and it's going to support what we're doing on a unit to unit basis. For this week, you're going to use a basic shape document, and you are going to, oh, let's see, admit him. Let's see. You're going to recreate a bear or a sheep, and you're going to choose which one you want to do. So download that file. Sorry, here's the shapes basics. You're going to download that file. You'll open it up in Illustrator. In fact, I'm going to do that for you. First, you'll download the file. And then from Illustrator, you'll open it. It's still downloading, so going really slow today for some weird reason. I think I need to clear my computer up. And then I'm going to open that file. So here's the file. You are tasked, I'm going to move some of the stuff out of the way. I've got all sorts of stuff in the way here. You are tasked to redraw one or the other, the bear or the sheep. And so this comes in at a certain in a certain way, and you notice it's got a lock. If you pull the layers out, I'm going to close this real quick. If you pull the layers out, this one layer that it opened up as has a lock next to it. And that lock is to safeguard against me accidentally clicking on something and moving it around. So just so you know, you can unlock this and you can start to click on things. But I want you to have it locked because you're going to be redrawing over the top of it. So the instructions require that you open up the instructions and read them. Create a 5x5 artboard, and you're going to place in the animal of choice that you will redraw. So you can keep this artboard if you want and just change the size of it. And to change the size of an artboard, you would go to Document Setup, Edit Artboards, and then up here, you can do 5x5. And the reason why I like a 5x5 is, I'm going to unlock this too and then delete this little guy. Oops. A nice little square works so well when we're redrawing. I can shrink that down. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna lock this again. And now I can't really accidentally click on anything. Part of my instruction wants me to then choose the animal of choice that I'm going to redraw, lock your default layer, which is that layer that you saw me lock. And then we're going to create a second layer above the animal layer. So creating a second layer above the animal layer. So I'm on this layer and I want to create a second layer. There's a little icon here that has a plus. So it automatically brings that layer above. So now my instructions tell me using the shape tools, I want to use the rectangle, the ellipse, the polygon, and the line. I want to then recreate or build the sheep on the second layer, okay? Okay, and so for the second layer, I'm going to then look at my shape tools. My shape tools, I'm going to close them out here because I had them open before, are really here. So they could be hiding behind the line segment. I'm going to do a tear off and they become its own little panel, which is nice. And so now I can quickly access them, if I need. But what I want to do is think about the shapes that are involved in this little guy here. I'm only going to recreate the sheep. I'm first going to start with this ellipse tool. And my video shows you exactly how to go about doing this. So I don't want to repeat myself. But I did want to show you just a little demo. So I went ahead and created the sheep with the ellipse tool. I'm going to also go to Window. I want to go to the swatches panel because I want to use swatches. You may not need to use everything that you see here. You can always group your panels. So if I'm wanting to use two panels at the same time, I'm moving a panel and I'm hovering at the bottom. And once you see that little blue line, you can let go. Now they're a group. It helps to save on space sometimes. So now I've got this one shape and I want that to be white, right? So I filled it with white. Now I had to make sure that this fill was over the top of the stroke. So stroke will actually will be the outline of something. The fill is the inside color of something. And you can find the stroke and fill in the swatches panel. You can find it in the toolbar. You can also find it up here. So you can find the same thing in many places in Illustrator. It can be a little annoying. But so I did that. And so now I'm going to create more ellipses to create these little, and it doesn't have to look as like furry as what you see here. I'm just trying to recreate the basic shapes. This doesn't have to be exact. I just want you guys to get comfortable. So since I added a fill to that big, huge ellipse in the middle of the sheet, I don't really have to change. It's automatically defaulting to the fill in these other shapes that I'm creating. So I'm going to do this in more than one. I'm going to do an Option click and drag or an Alt click and drag on the PC. and I'm gonna start to adjust my ellipse. Option click and drag or Alt on the PC just to recreate these. And what that is doing is creating quick copies for me. And I can even hover over the right side and then rotate if I want. Okay, option click and drag, option click and drag. Like I just want to kind of create those little tufts of hair as best as I can. And I'm doing this quickly for you guys, but you know, you can take a little more time and make it nice. I've got, and then that's the face, so I really don't need anything there. So as you see, as I hover over these, they're all separate elements, right? I want them kind of to be one element because I don't want to have to drag and drop all of these separately and move them because I have to now look at the face, right? To be able to record or redraw the face. So there's a couple of things you can do. The one thing that you can do is you can do an invisible, make sure you're in the selection tool. You can do an invisible box select, and then they all select at once, and you can do object group, or you can pull down your window, I think it's Pathfinder, and in your Pathfinder, you can hover and do a unite. And unite is like it unites all the shapes into one. Okay, so now I've got the shape that I want for the body, and I can move that aside. I don't want it to lose in the white space, so I'm just going to change the color quick so I know how to find it. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, you know, I'm still on that layer 2. And you can change your layer names. Click, hesitate, click, or I think it's double click. There we go. So I can do body. I can actually do different layers for every part of the body if I wish, or I can just do cheap redraw. Base layer, you know, if I can spell here, you guys just do what you can do with redrawing something as close as possible. And I outline this. I want to make sure I'm on that second layer again, but I outline this in my video. I do exactly what I'm doing now in the actual video for the course. And I'll show you where that's at. But in the end, I want to reassemble and make sure that it looks as close to the sheep as possible. And then you're going to create 3 separate names. Now you're going to be like, okay, well, I can't click on that because it's locked. Well, you can unlock it and go to the base layer, select what you need to select, and you can either copy it from this layer and paste it on the second layer, or a better way to go about it is whenever you're selected on an element, on a layer, you'll notice this little tiny square shows up, and it's really showing that whatever I'm selected on is going to be contained here in this little circle. All I have to do is click that, or I'm sorry, the square. All I have to do is click it and move it. And now, if I lock this bottom layer, I can now work with this. Okay, so I just want your name here. So maybe you put your name, GPUs, and then, you know, like you want 3 different sizes. And maybe you do it one at a time. This can be bigger. And what I'm doing is I'm doing Shift, Control, less than and greater than symbol. That's the quick command keys to make things incrementally larger or smaller. Okay, the quick command keys. What I want to see is that you're doing a couple different sizes for me. I want to see that you can work with text. Now, in my video, I show you the difference between point text and between box select text. So point text is if I just point and click, it's going to automatically load it up with some Greek copy. Greek copy is great for when we're working in employment agency or I'm sorry, an employer on a team where you need to fill space with copy that hasn't been written yet. Because always people want to see the way it looks before they do any work, right? So they want you to design something without anybody have written an article, and then you give them what it looks like. So we've come up with, for multiple decades, we've come up with a way of doing that using Greek copy that just places in as placeholder text. So that's what happens with the point and click. If you just point and click, it'll fill it with that. Unfortunately, with point and click, look what happens. You have the unfortunate opportunity to stretch type. As a designer, you never want to stretch. You don't want anything to compromise the character. You don't want things to be stretched this way, even in the slightest. Like, I have students that will bring me that, and I know it's been stretched, like just the smallest bit. Like, I have an eye for it. I can tell that something's been stretched. It's something you never want to do, especially for your portfolio. But if you go to your type tool and you do an invisible box, and then you go to your selection tool, it doesn't do that. Instead, it does the flowing text. So know the difference between the point text and using the text tool to create that invisible box instead. It allows you to then flow your copy, and it'll flow with the text box around it. Okay, there's just some things that I wanted people to know up front. And I know I'm giving you a lot for the lecture today, but I wanted to quickly just review a couple things. So this was created with the box select, so it's not going to stretch it. I just want to see that you're placing text on the page this week and being able to recreate the animal of your choice using those shape tools. I want you to use every tool except for the star, because the star is kind of a little more difficult. But what I did is I used, rectangles for the legs in my video. And then if I get closer, you notice these little circles inside and then all of a sudden, if I hover over one, you see the little curved line. You click and hold, and it'll actually curve those edges for you. Oops. And then you can use that for the leg. You can start to use your eyedropper tool to pull the right color in if you want. All you do is you got to make sure your shape's selected, and then you go to your eyedropper tool and select over the color you want. You can kind of, and I don't want this to be exact. This is a simple shape exercise. Get as close as you can, but it's not going to be perfect this time. I want you to use your shapes and just explore with shapes. And then, so the line segment tool, I think I used for the little snout. The ellipse I used for all the fur for the most part. And then I think the polygon I may have used for the head or the hexagon. And then I attached some more ellipse to that. So my video is in the JetNet instructions. I'll always have my videos there for you. So this goes through exactly what I was showing you, but it goes a lot further. So it will walk you through the assignment step by step. So you want to complete that assessment or that assignment, and then you'll get 30 points for that if you do it properly. And then you want to answer the forum and introduce yourself this week and really get comfortable with the workspace. And I do allow a little bit extra time for people to download Adobe Illustrator, because that takes a lot of time. If you don't have it on your computer already and you're waiting to see if you can get a discount. So if you struggle with any of those things, I'm very understanding the first week. Just let me know that you may, I wasn't able to get it downloaded, so you fell behind. Talk to me about it. If you're communicative with me, it makes all the difference. So that's all I have. This file, again, is the one that has the sheep and the bear in it. And you're going to submit your final piece to the Shape Basics submission link. Connect with me at any time if you need any assistance or help. But please feel free if you have any questions. I see there's something in the chat I haven't checked. Sorry. Our name of I would like to see your name in there, Julian. So you can do like Sheep Julian if you want, or you can just do like, Julie, your whole name if you want. It's up to you. But I want to see your name in there. It's a good question. Our name or the name of the redraw. So, does anybody have any questions before we close out for today?
The name of the file, like submission, it's E1A Shape Basics. Do we put our name in that at all?
Oh, for the submission, let's hang on one second. Hey, Peyton, you can stay in here. I'm still wrapping up this class, but just go ahead and stay in. Let me see the shape basics. So the instructions at the bottom. You need your name in here. So Caitlin, I've had you in other courses. So in some other courses, I might require that you do your name, and it's important that your name's in there. For this one, I just want you to submit this way with the shape basis. So always follow just what the name is in the instructions. But yes, I try to stay as consistent as possible in my classes.
I don't think I need to compress the file before submitting it because it's not in the instructions.
Yeah, so anytime it's not the instructions, you don't have to, and I won't cut you down, I promise, okay?
Okay,
I'm so glad you asked the question. Yeah. Super glad you asked the question. So thank you. Go ahead, type in the chat or unmute yourself if you have any additional questions before we go. I will be uploading the submission link or this recorded link within the unit today, probably tonight or the latest first thing tomorrow. Okay. If there's no more questions, you feel free to be dismissed.